So welcome everybody. So today's session on microvideos, wanted to just kick off really quick with a little bit about Nova Scribes. Most of you, I think, just I'm going to put it on speaker view. Can anyone raise their hand if this is their first Nova Scribes event ever, or go ahead and click on the chat in the bottom and raise their hand. But anyone's first Nova Scribes ever? Okay, great. Okay, so I got a couple folks. So just a little bit about Nova Scribes before we get started. Nova Scribes is an open forum for visual practitioners to share their knowledge. We are anyone who uses visuals to move others: graphic facilitators, graphic recorders, scribes, sketchnoters, video scribers, UX designers, and visual consultants. We have organized classes, graphic jams, open spaces, and, as you can see, webinars where we share skills and learn from each other. We will have a meetup in January. Stay tuned for that. Topic is TBD. Brian, when you get started, you can say about how long today's session is. Generally we plan for 90 minutes to 2 hours, but sometimes our hosts are gracious and go over. Okay, well, let me introduce you to Brian, for those of you who don't know him. Brian Tarallo, Managing Director for Lizard Brain Solutions, also a Visioneer at OG Systems with me. And today's Microvideos webinar. Microvideos is a new method. A lot of times it's used for prototyping concepts. And this session is really meant to be as much of a share as it is a show. So we'll be looking to do some sharing of knowledge after the presentation piece of it. So with that, let me kick it over to Brian to get us started.
Cool. Thanks, Lauren. All right.
Yeah.
So to answer Lauren's question, this is going to take about 90 minutes, give or take. I mean, this is going to be just as much practice and learning from each other, and hopefully adding to the shared pool of knowledge as it is you all hearing from me. Having said that, the first half of this is going to be very instructorly given. So I'm going to be showing you the couple of different ways that we've been refining the use of microvideos, and showing you how to do it, and then turning it right over to you so that you can actually create some microvideos using hopefully the technology that you've got on hand, and then so you can share it with the group and we can give each other some feedback on it. Okay. And as Lauren said, by default, you're going to be on mute. And so if you want to come off mute, just do *6 on your phone, or you can actually select that yourself on your computer. Also, we're going to be keeping an eye on chat. So if I'm going too fast, if you have any questions, feel free to throw a question into chat and I'll slow down and we'll cover whatever's up. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Now, for those of you who happen to have taken or know the way that one Rachel Smith likes to do virtual facilitation, I'm testing actually the use of PowerPoint to be able to do it, because I would say that with a Cintiq and the draw feature, PowerPoint has actually gotten really cool and a lot better than it used to be even like last year. So I'm going to be running this off of PowerPoint, but please don't hold that against me. I'll try to make it not like your typical PowerPoint. So thumbs up. Can everybody see my screen? Okay. Yes, microvideos. Awesome. All right. So let's just jump into it. Okay, so that's me, graphic facilitator, managing director, Lizard Brain Solutions. So I want to kick off by doing a bit of a who's in the room. I know most of the folks, but what I'd like you to do is to go ahead and open the chat button, and if you don't see it, you might have to, on your control bar, it's either down here or it's up here, you'd have to click on the 3 arrows and open up the chat. And what I'd like you to do is chat to everyone. One thing that you'd like to learn from this webinar. Now, I asked that question when you all signed up, and so I went to your answers, and here's what I got. Editing videos on the phone, adding audio, what are the best apps for iPad and Android, storyboarding, and making words easier to read. So go ahead and take a second, and if you haven't contributed to that, go ahead and do that now. And I'll capture some additional thoughts that you've got here. I'll be watching the chat. So go ahead and pop the chat open. Okay, storyboarding, so we've got another vote for that one. Okay. Amy, storyboarding and format, okay. Thank you. Legibility, yeah, so back to that, easy to read, okay. Easy production, okay. Thanks for that. Let's see. Use of PowerPoint, so Lori, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be doing a whole lot of PowerPoint. You'll be able to see it while we're doing it, but I'm just learning this too. This is sort of a chance for me to try this out. More storyboarding, and then I would say storytelling, Mateo, how to deliver an impactful, concise message. We're definitely going to be going over that. So let me just add it. Storytelling. And then how to edit footage to make a more compelling, interactive, instructional video. Yeah, so we'll do editing. Chrissy, okay. Word, you're just along for the ride. Best editing apps, okay. And then best length of a video. Okay, so that one I'm going to knock out right now. So most of the literature that we've looked at with regards to micro videos or any kind of explainer videos, try to put it at around 3 minutes. Lauren, have I got that right? That's the one we usually tell people. And the reason for that is that they take a look at just how long people will hang with videos, like on YouTube or anything else. And you tend to see people's interest start to wane after 3. And so whether or not we're doing whiteboard animation, video scribe, action sketches, or micro videos, 3 minutes is a pretty good length. I think that micro videos can be even shorter than that. We're talking 30, 60, 90 seconds. Okay, cool. All right, thanks for that. I think I've got a pretty good body of knowledge here. Let's go ahead and move on. Okay. All right, so what is a micro video? I'm not going to read this to you. You read a lot faster than I talk, so I'll shut up for a minute and let you kind of scan through this. Okay, so I'm seeing some nods. I'm guessing most of you scanned through that. I love how Bill Gates is telling me that micro video is not actually a word here with my spelling check. But let me give you an example before we go any further. And in order to get this right, I may have to, Lauren, I think I forgot to do the share audio, so I'm going to have to reshare my screen. Stand by for just a second. Yeah, okay, let's try that again. And here we go. Just give me a thumbs up if this sounds all right.
The principle of the hedgehog comes from Arthur Schopenhauer. Hedgehogs fend off cold weather by moving closer together. Of course, if they move too close, they prick each other with their spines. So, they must find the right distance to stay warm and keep from being pricked. Schopenhauer wrote, "The need of society drives the human porcupines together, only to be mutually repelled by the many prickly and disagreeable qualities of their nature." This happens in group work, too. Participants move closer in and further out as they find the right personal distance from each other, balancing collegiality, vulnerability, and openness with guardedness, caution, and reservation. I heard about the principle of the hedgehog from Lauren Green, who got it from one of her students.
Hey, Lauren, thanks for that. Oh, thanks for the applause, Mateo. That's awesome. Yeah, so pretty cool, right? So I did this. So Lauren sent me a note. She said she put me onto the principle of the hedgehog. I was like, this is really cool. We got to get this out there. And while I was at an airport gate, I don't know if you actually heard the announcement. Mateo's nodding. While while I was sitting at an airport gate waiting for my flight back from Las Vegas, I just recorded this. And so the point is that this isn't meant to be at the RSA Animate level of polish. This is supposed to be kind of quick and dirty. What is the lightest way you can get a video out there so that you can get feedback and get a message out? Next slide. Yeah. Okay, so what led to that? So I mentioned RSA Animate. So show of hands, who here has seen the Dan Pink RSA Animate on motivation, autonomy, mastery, purpose? Yeah, so about half of y'all. We'll get the link out. It's been around for a while, but I got to tell you, when I first saw that, I had my mind was blown. I mean, it was one of those moments, sort of like when I first saw John Ward graphic record, and I thought it was the coolest thing in the world, right? And my question was like, wow, I'm already a graphic facilitator. I want to do that kind of stuff, but I don't have near the talent, and I don't have the production studio in order to be able to make that stuff work. So how do we do that lighter? And so I experimented by doing this with my phone. And so this is one of the first micro videos that I tried. You can see off to the right here, there's like the glass of beer that I had my phone suspended on top of. And I was using a Sharpie pen on top of just a sticky note. And I decided to do as a topic, Dean Meyer's 5 diagrams to solve any problem. Actually, seeing some of you nod, he's actually delivered that same content through Nova Scribes. And if you don't know it, it's a great way of solving any problem. But then from that, it's like, okay, this worked pretty well. How do I do this better? And how do I add audio to it? And I discovered that with iMovie, it's pretty easy to add a voiceover on top. And then once I had the audio on top of the time lapse, it's like, okay, well, now how do I get it out there? And it's like, well, YouTube's available. And so it's really easy to post videos to YouTube. In fact, I thought it was so easy to get this thing done that I thought, you know, hey, this would be really great for groups to be able to do, so that they're leaving the room with something more than just an action list. So that they can say, here's a video that captures at high level the concept and the theory behind our ideas. And it shows up a little bit differently, doesn't it, than an email or a PowerPoint slide or, you know, a white paper. And so think about microvideos as a way that your participants can put their ideas out there in a way that's kind of interesting and unexpected. And most importantly, can't be interrupted. Okay, so I want to turn it over to you, and we're going to try something here. So Laura, you said you wanted to experiment with PowerPoint. Here's your chance. At the top of your, there's a couple ways you might get at this. You may see at the top of your Zoom menu, there's something that says Annotate, okay? And if you go ahead and click that, you'll have a couple of different options to actually take notes on this slide. You can either draw, if you happen to have a Cintiq, or you're really good with a mouse, or you can just take some text notes. So I want to put this back to you. Thinking about what you just saw in terms of microvideos, go ahead and give me some annotations. How might you use it? And by the way, as you're annotating, you have to click away from whatever it is that you're drawing or writing in order for it to get published out there, okay? Now, for those of you that, for whatever reason, if you're having a challenge annotating, go ahead and add your thoughts into the chat, and I'll keep an eye out and capture it myself.
Hey, Brian, can you tell us again how to get to the annotate option?
Sure. So what you want to do is, it looks like, Lauren, I thought we put the little icon in here. It looks like this. Let me see if I can snap a photo of it. And it may look a little bit different for you. Stand by. Yeah. It is in the Zoom menu. Let me see if I can't pull it in here. Yep. It's right, let me move it to a place where I haven't drawn yet. It's right here. And if you don't see it for whatever reason, chances are there might be 3 dots that you'd have to click on to make it clear. Go ahead.
If you don't see that, you may also see on the top of your screen, if you mouse over, and it'll say you are viewing Brian Torello's screen, and next to it says View Options. Yeah. And then under View Options, you can get to Annotate there too.
Thanks, Laura. Okay, so I'm seeing that it's fun. This is the test. As a promotional video, doing a little bit of self-promotion, yeah, if you wanted to, you know, get your own thoughts out there. As an event reminder, sure, why not? Sharing research, fundraising, illustrating ideas, love that one. How to blank content. Okay, if you wrote that, go ahead and unmute yourself. I want to hear what's behind that, please. How to blank content. Maybe share content?
Like how-to content. How to
do. How-to, like how-to content. Yeah. Okay, got it. Strategic planning explainers. Found it. Okay, cool. Marketing and promotional videos like hashtag OBN18, for example. Tutorials, definitely. Sharing a quote from a great read like The Principle of the Hedgehog. Teaching a large group of executives something very quickly. Yeah, that's great. So a lot of our clients, as I'm sure you know, they love use of PowerPoint. And oftentimes, you know, you work with people for a long time to get them some really polished presentations. And they'll have 20, 30, 40 slides. And they're like 3 slides into it. And somebody asks a question. And now the presenter's over a barrel, right? Because he's like, well, if you just waited until slide 10, I'd answer that. Or do I, you know, but now you're not really listening because that's all you're focused on. So what I like about videos is like, they can't be interrupted. You hit play and then you get out of the way and then the message is all there. Sort of like a story map, right? People can, they get the whole thing at once and it's like, then we can have a conversation about it. Cool.
Hey, Brian,
Yes,
there were a couple other comments in the chat for those who are chatting in instead of annotating. So just wanted to call those out. STGUA offered fundraising for a method, and then also showing the results of a group discussion in a dynamic way, or sharing the experience of one group to others. So I wanted to call those out.
Result of a discussion. Okay, cool.
And thank you, Lori, for your addition. Breaking up a presentation or training. Very nice.
Tell a story. Cool, love it. All right, thank you for that. So moving on. Okay, some simple instructions. So we're going to go more in depth in just a minute. And just in case this doesn't play well over Zoom, we're going to put a link into the chat so that you can look it up on your own computer, just in case we have audio problems. But there's the link. And so let's test this first and see if it works. Okay, so this is just word of warning. This is a micro video about a micro video, so it's a little meta, right? So if you've ever seen Inception, yeah, whoa, mind blown. All right, so here we go. This is what it is and how to do it.
This is a micro video about micro videos. Okay, so what is a micro video? A micro video is a lightweight, unpolished, rough and ready explainer video. Why would you ever want to create a micro video? Well, it's a good alternative to PowerPoint or Word doc. It's a different medium, so it might engage people in a way that's surprising to them. It appeals to both audio and visual learners, and is a great way to test ideas and minimum viable products. So the process to create a micro video is to first come up with the content. You can use a storyboard for that, or maybe you'd like to film a diorama or maybe a prototype that you've designed. Or you can just use a series of sticky notes, which you lay out from beginning to end as I've done here. Next, you come up with what you're going to say. You can either write something out in a script, or you can do something that's a little bit more conversational and ad hoc, like I'm doing here. If you're going to do that, just be good with the fact that you're probably going to be doing multiple takes before you get it right. Make sure that you're including visuals. I'll include a link to a visual vocabulary, which is a great reference of a bunch of different images that you can pull into your micro video. The next step is to just go ahead and film it. So you can use your smartphone or your tablet or your laptop, pretty much anything that's got a camera and a record button to it. Now, if you want to, you can pull it into some phone apps like iMovie and do a little bit of editing, which can allow you to cut in photos, music, text, anything else that you want to pull in. There are some apps that have some pretty cool special effects, but you can skip this step altogether if you just want to get it out there. At either filming or editing, you can drop in the voiceover. You can either do the voiceover while you're filming, like I'm doing here, or you can drop it in after the fact, after you've filmed whatever it is that you're shooting, in an app like iMovie. There's a button that allows you to add a voiceover later. Then get it out there. You can either email it to whoever it is that you'd like to see, you'd like it to be seen by and get feedback from, or you can stream it. If you have a projector and the right kind of adapter, you can stream it in front of an audience, or you can use some combination of AirPlay and Apple TV. I think that the best way to get a micro video out there is to use YouTube. If you save it as a public video, anybody can search for it and find it. If it's unlisted, it can't be searched, but anybody with the link that you share it with can view the video. If it's private, only certain people that you designate can view the video. Most importantly, with a micro video is to get it out there for feedback. You can use feedback like plus delta, which is to say, what is it that you'd like to see more of? What is it that you'd like to change? Or you can invite your viewers to share I like, I wish. What are the things that they like? What are the things that they wish were different? So that's it. That's the whole process for doing micro videos. If you have any questions or feedback, you can either post them in the comment section below on YouTube or email them to me at brian@lizardbrainsolutions.com. Thanks for watching.
Okay, and so when I teach groups how to do micro videos, typically all I'll do is put that QR code up. And if somebody does have an iPhone handy, you can actually test this. You don't even have to take a picture anymore with your iPhone. All you got to do is aim your camera at that QR code. I'll go ahead and make it big so you can see it. I see Mateo trying it out. If you just aim it, there should be a little thingy. Yep, there should be a little thingy up at the top that says, hey, do you want to follow this link? And when you click on that, it takes you straight to that video. So rather than passing out instructions, I just have participants bring their own devices, and that'll, get the devices into their hands so that they start using it. Okay, and we'll share this QR code later if you want to. If you also want to do this with your participants. Okay, so those are the simple instructions. So there's two types of microvideos. And you've seen both of them already. There's the method of using sticky notes and storyboards, where you've got it all, laid out in front of you and you just walk along it like that. And then there's, like what I did in the airport, is to do a time-lapse drawing, where you suspend the phone above your drawing surface, you record it using the time-lapse, and then you add the voiceover later. We'll go over how to do both of those. So we'll do the easy one first, okay? Actually, what both of them need is a great story, okay? So here's one method for storytelling, and I think I'm scratching somebody's itch. There was actually a couple of people that wanted good storytelling. Here's a few resources for that. So there's the idea of context, challenge, solution, impact. And if you're familiar with Joseph Campbell's Hero of the Thousand Faces, where he talks about the hero's journey, this is probably the simplest iteration of that, where it's a story in 4 parts. What's the context, which is to say, what is the situation, what was going on? What was the challenge or the journey or the problem that had to be solved? What was the solution? What approach did the hero take in order to overcome the challenge? What was the victory? What's the climax? And then what was the impact? What was the homecoming that the hero experienced when he came back? What was the so what? So this works not just for storytelling, it also works for business storytelling. And a great resource about that, yep, Liz, oh, I'll get to you in a second, Liz. Thanks for that. Is Paul Smith's Lead with a Story. Paul Smith was the corporate storyteller for Procter & Gamble. And Lead with a Story, not only does it tell you how to tell really good business stories, but it gives you a whole bunch of good stories that I've actually brought into my own practice and I've used with groups. Yeah, so I saw Liz Ryan pointed out communication Slotson's appreciative visual storytelling. And some of you that have been with the IFVP for a while may remember that Communication Slotson, it's a German firm, they often partner with Bicablo and Neuland. They actually demoed this method, I want to say, at the IFVP in Philadelphia. And it pretty much followed the same format as this: context, challenge, solution, and impact. Okay. All right. So beginning with a story, that's the same in either one. Okay. And then finally, once you got the story, is to go ahead and add some visuals behind it. So we'll share this link. This is, let's see, Lori, what's the Grove book? Is it the Visual Language? What's the name of that one? Let me unmute you for a second.
Oh,
Foundations of Visual Language?
Graphic facilitation. That's
the big one.
The big one. Are you talking about just the little one?
Well, that's the pictographs one, right?
Pictographs one.
I'll get it. Hold on.
It's the visual language.
Oh, yeah.
The link that Brian was going to share is in the chat if anybody wants to follow it.
That one.
Yeah.
Fundamentals of Graphic Language, the practice book that's there, right? So, and by the way, if you guys haven't seen this, I'm going to stop my share for just a second just so you can see this. This is a very, very cool book, because not only does it have the pictographs in it, but it's also here's how you actually draw it step by step, okay? So I bring it up just to say that this visual vocabulary that I'm sharing with you, it's sort of like my one-page version of a Bicablo book or Fundamentals of a Graphic Language, okay? And I share this with participants who, don't have the visual vocabulary that we do as graphic facilitators. I'll go ahead and post that in the chat. Okay. So once they've seen the micro video on Microvideos, once they've seen a little bit about storytelling, once they know a little bit about how to build a visual vocabulary, I turn it over to them and they're off and running. And if they are going down the path of using storyboards and sticky notes, they write their great story, they draw simple icons, one per sticky note. They post the sticky notes on the wall in a well-lit space. And then on their phone, this is the important part, because this is where things get a little wonky. There's a few settings. First, I like to recommend that folks turn on airplane mode. You don't want somebody to call or text you right in the middle of it. It just throws off the rhythm. It happens, somebody was doing this long video once, they were 5 minutes into it, they got a phone call, went bananas. Making sure that it's on landscape mode. This one's also important, because sometimes, people will start recording vertically and then flip it, thinking that the phone is smart enough to flip it for you, and you end up watching the thing sideways, so that's unfortunate. And then also, if you're starting with a blank wall, sometimes the camera doesn't have something to focus on. So it's best to start the recording on something that's got a little bit of contrast to it, like a drawing that you've done, or maybe a marker or a pen or somebody's face, but giving the camera on the phone something to focus on, okay? Also making sure that it's on video mode. By the way, I should say at this point that this is going to be heavily weighted towards iPhone users. I'm sorry if you're not an iPhone user, I apologize for that. I don't have another phone, this is just what I know. But I'm hoping later on when we do a little bit of skill sharing and you might be able to add to the pool and we can hear some alternatives to the ones that I'm giving you.
Hey, Brian.
Yes, ma'am.
Any preference on size of sticky? 5 by 7, 3 by 5, 3 by 3?
Yeah, that's cool. I don't know. Can we unmute everybody and hear what people think? Let's see. Yeah, okay, everybody's now unmuted. What would you say? Any preference on size of stickies? Could you see it going one way or another?
I like the amount of space that the 5 by 7 gives you because you can put more content on there. But if you're just maybe drawing graphics, maybe the 3 by 5 is enough space and then you could narrate the rest of it. So I would say if you're using words and pictures, maybe the bigger ones would be more useful.
Cool. I'll have to try it. Honestly, I've only done it using 3 by 3s just because they're cheaper. And you know, the thing that I tell myself is like, well, we want this to be, you know, brief, concise, crisp messages. You know, we don't want to have a strategic plan in a micro video. It's not the right format for it. I mean, next time I'll try it with 5 by 7s. Okay. The one thing, I'm going to go ahead and mute you all again. Yeah. The one thing that I would say is, don't let your participants fall into the trap where they have to get it right the first time, right? Read it all the way through, start to finish, okay? The guy that taught me how to play chess, he used to say, finish every game, even though you know you're gonna lose, because you're gonna learn something from it. So it's the same thing with doing these. Just the act of iterating it, and doing it again and again and again, it's gonna get more and more comfortable, okay? The other trick with this is allowing plenty of time for your participants to iterate. Because if you set this up and it's 30 minutes long, what's going to happen? They spend the first 28 minutes planning and the last 2 minutes filming. And that doesn't leave them any time to iterate. So making sure that they've got time to like, okay, we're going to wash, rinse, and repeat this the first time. Because otherwise the first videos that you get back are going to be a little bit rough. It's just by virtue of the fact that they're seeing what works and they're giving themselves feedback, it gets better and better with each iteration. So again, 3, 4, the 5th one is going to be perfect. Okay, moving on. So that's the easy one. That's using storyboards and sticky notes. Come on. I want to go to the next slide. There we go. So this one's a little bit trickier. The time-lapse drawing, which I know a lot of you are going to be interested in. So if you can go over to my video, and I'm going to pause the share for just a second so you can see this, my camera. Okay. So you see this guy? This is my gooseneck. Okay. It's very cheap. You can get it from Amazon or something like that. It's got a big clamp on this side to clamp to a desk or whatever else, kind of. And then it's got a nice phone-size clamp over here that you can plug your phone into, like that, okay? And you aim it straight down to whatever your drawing surface is. You make sure that it's really well lit, and then you let it go. So let me walk through, I'll turn the share back on, and I'll walk through the process for doing the time-lapse version of Microvideos, okay? So again, you have a great story. You practice drawing the scene a few times. When I did the Principle of the Hedgehogs, that was the 3rd time that I'd drawn those little guys before I finally figured, okay, I think these ones are pretty cute. You know, I had some really ugly looking hedgehogs the first couple of times. You suspend your phone above the paper. You don't have to have a gooseneck clamp if you don't want to. A couple things that you could try is if you have a glass coffee table or a small one, you can set it up on another table, put the phone on top, and then, you know, draw underneath. I've done that when I've been on the road traveling. That works pretty well. I'm seeing some nods from Karen. Maybe she's tried something like that too. And as you saw in a couple of my videos, I'll grab like a big old beer glass and just, you know, put it on top of there so, you know, you can have your beverage in between takes. That works like $1,000,000. When you are filming, watch for shadows. On the, if you can see it, on the Principle of the Hedgehogs, I didn't have really good control over my lighting. And so you actually saw the shadow of my phone. If you go back and watch it, you'll be able to see it. But where you can, see if you can control your lighting. Like that, so that you avoid any shadows that are on it. And then same thing, turning on the airplane mode, making sure that it's on landscape, and then giving the lens something to focus on. This one's especially important when you're doing the time-lapse videos, because you are starting with a blank page, and sometimes the camera doesn't know what to focus on. And when you hit the record button, it'll keep the focus that it started with. So, you know, taking a pen or whatever else people like to see your drawing implements and leaving it there, or maybe it's a business card if you want to do a little bit of marketing, giving the lens something to focus on, okay? A couple of other things about this. Instead of using the video mode in this case, there's actually a mode on the phone that's called Timelapse. You just get to it by swiping left or right, saying to nod, some of you use that. And then what I'd say is if you're doing this in a sketchbook or any kind of loose paper, use as many binder clips as you can to really hold that paper taut. Just the difference in lift between a loose paper and a pressed paper can be enough to throw the focus off. So really making sure that it's clamped down. Mateo, did you have a question about that? Okay. All right, so that's step one with the time lapse, is actually doing the time lapse. Then there's step two, which is, okay, what do you do with it once you've actually got the time lapse? So again, this is gonna be kind of Apple and iPhone focused, but you would open iMovie, you tap the little plus sign to find your video, and then you drop it in. And then once you've actually got your video in iMovie, there's a couple of things that you can do. First, you've got your script at this point, right? And so if you've read through it a couple times, you have a pretty good idea of how long the length of this thing is. If your time lapse that you've taken is too short or too long, you can actually tap on this little clock down at the bottom here, and then adjust the speed to either make it shorter or longer, or in the moment, okay? Once you've got the video to the length that you want it, then you can add the voiceover. So you tap plus again. There's a little microphone that shows up that says voiceover to it. And then it gives you the screen that's on the right where you can tap record whenever you're ready. You'll actually see the video play, so you'll be able to give yourself your own cues. And then, you know, it'll give you the option, if you look way down at the bottom here, to either retake it or accept it, or just cancel it altogether and say, okay, I'm not going to do this at all. But again, same with the other one, is to plan on doing 4 or 5 of your own voice takes before it's perfect. You know, you learn, you get better through iterating. Okay. So that's how to do the short ones. All right, so before we go any further, I'm going to take you all off of mute and see if there are any questions about process before you all get a chance to actually do this. Go ahead and talk. I'll also have the chat open in case somebody would be more comfortable asking a question over chat.
One thing that I was going to mention that I mentioned in chat, but with the gooseneck kind of clamps, I've gotten a couple different versions of those, but my phone is very heavy. I have an iPhone 7 with a case on it, and the gooseneck clamp, no matter how you put it up, falls over every single time. So I've had to use different tripods and stuff like that.
Yeah, so we love hardware, right? Hardware's our friend. Hardware's a good thing. Yeah, so this is, I mean, this is a super duper clamp that I used to use when I was building houses, right? But yeah, depending on how big your, yeah, if you're suspending your laptop over it, you're gonna wanna get something pretty beefy. Okay, good point, Heatherlyn, thanks for that. Any other questions? No? Wow, you guys are like ready to go. Okay, awesome. All right, so here is your assignment, okay? And what I would like you to do is to tell a story of a time when you were at your personal best as a leader, okay? So grab 4 stickies, grab a Sharpie if you've got one, okay? And I'd like you to think of a time when you were at your personal best as a leader. I'm gonna mute you all just for a second. And tell a story when you were at your personal best as a leader using context, challenge, solution, and impact. And by the way, you know, giving credit where credit is due, this is almost exactly the method that Communications Lawson shared at IFEP in Philadelphia, okay? If you need more than 4 stickies, that's okay. And remember, you're gonna draw a simple icon on each sticky note, one for each scene, post them in a well-lit area, And for the purposes of this one, we're just going to use the method where you're filming sticky notes, not the time lapse. Okay, that's a little bit more involved, and I think it might be more than what we've got time for. Remember to allow for multiple takes. The fifth one would be the best. And here's the instructions you haven't gotten yet, is how do you share this out with the group? So you have a couple of different options for that. If you have a YouTube channel, you can go ahead and post your video out on YouTube when it's done. You can share it on Instagram, but if you're going to do that, just know that it's got to be less than 60 seconds. I'll go back and share my screen again. There we are. So you can see the instructions. You can share it on the Slack channel. Lauren sent out a link to our Slack channel. I saw that some of you joined us there, and I'll be monitoring that. Or if none of that works, you can just go ahead and email or text it to me, and I'll pull it into this. Okay. So I'd say about just 10 minutes. Okay. I'll stay on the phone. I'll stay on chat if any of you all have any questions. But go ahead and give this a try. And as you're getting started, I want to demo something that I think is super cool. Super cool. Okay, so if I've done this right, you should be looking at my iPhone. Okay. And I'm going to have to take my headset off in order to reach it. Here, stand by for a second. Okay. So again, what we're after is just something like this, where you've got context, challenge, solution, impact. Go ahead and make the stickies and videotape the voiceover on top of that. Okay.
Hey, Brian, can you repeat the topic?
Yes, I would be happy to. So this is thinking of when you were at your personal best as a leader. So a time when you really shone as a leader. So once you actually clicked on your video and you've got it, right? You click the little send it somewhere arrow, and you've got a whole bunch of different options here. Now, if you've got Slack set up on your phone, it shows up right here, and you can tap that and it will take you through a series of prompts, or you can send it to Dropbox too, that's an option. And it will send you through a series of prompts so that you can send it to the proper Slack channel. Like that, okay? Now I've already got it set up to go directly to the Microvideos workspace that I've already made, but I could just say this is Brian's Leadership Best, and I can load it that way, okay? So that's how to get it up to Slack. Again, if Slack is too much of a challenge or if it's just giving you problems, you can load it to YouTube or use any of these other things. I would say that in the room, if you are doing this with groups, really your best option to share this is to have an Apple TV handy that you can plug into a TV or some sort of projector that's in the room, and that way you can just allow folks to connect straight to that. Okay. All right, so let me stop the share. So we actually have the first one in, and I'd like to go ahead and share it. Let me go ahead and pull it up.
6 months ago, I started a job to be the social engagement specialist for an organization that previously did not have anyone in charge of their social media. So as you can imagine, there were a lot of things going onto social because we had established channels, but there was no calendar, no one knew who owned the channels, and the overall voice was very inconsistent. So I sat down with 30 different people across the organization, from coordinators to senior leaders, to figure out what their needs for social media were and what I could do to help support them. In the end, I compiled my results and sat down with my boss, my boss's boss, and the CEO of our organization to share the insights that I had learned. And now I'm proud to report that we have a calendar, we have the right tools, and that all of the voices are included in this conversation.
Awesome, seeing some applause. Yay, Mateo, Paige, Amy, Malgosia, everybody's yay. Awesome. All right, let's see if we can't do a couple more. I think I saw, Mateo, you sent one over chat, right? Yep, seeing some nods, okay. Let me see if I can't pull that guy up.
My Personal Best as a Leader by Mateo Becky. So back in my project management days, one of the former organizations that I used to work for, a group of leadership team members asked me, hey, we need you to save this project. We got some issues going on here. Sure thing, looking forward to it. first team meeting I walk into, there's 3 layers of executives and managers that are basically browbeating this one technical engineer who's just standing his ground, digging his heels into the ground, and absorbing all sorts of punitive verbal abuse from these frustrated 3 layers of management executives. So what do? So in my very first team meeting with them, I figured, let's just come to an understanding of what our goals are here. What are we trying to achieve? Maybe we can get some sort of shared agreement on where we're trying to get to, and maybe even taking it a few steps further, a little mutual appreciation for the different perspectives in the room. And that simple question turned out to provide us with that common ground, a little bit of clarity for one another. I really just created a space for us to have a conversation and understand where each of us were coming from. Not to say it was kumbaya the whole way, but we were able to align our understanding of one another and also put some of our personal reservations aside and finally march down the path to a successful project completion.
Okay, Matteo, that was awesome. Congratulations. That was great. Seeing some applause from across the group. Have you ever thought about doing like professional voiceovers? I mean, you have one of those voices like, it's like one of those meditation type things. I need to hear your voice. It's like, okay, imagine yourself in a running stream. That'd be great. And the music, I don't know, how did you do the mute music? I've never seen that before. That was awesome.
I was fidgeting with Spotify. I was hoping I could do like record and play on this thing, but obviously.
Yeah, it's one or the other. Okay.
I logged into Spotify on the laptop and just started playing one of my yoga teaching training tracks, if you will.
These are excellent. So thank you for that, Matteo. That was great.
Thank you. Great team.
I'm trying to see if there are any others. It looks like Abra, that was awesome, by the way. Abra was the only one to post on Slack successfully. And it looks like it's not for lack of several of you trying to make it work. Lauren, do you see if we've gotten any others? Amy's still trying to upload it. Okay. So go ahead.
I'm recommending that maybe YouTube is gonna, I think the files might be a little big for email.
Mm-hmm.
So I almost think that if you can't get it on Slack, Matteo's process of just doing the quick upload to YouTube and then drop the link into the chat as a workaround.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Lauren. And what I would say is that when you're functionally doing this in groups, you're going to run into all the same technical challenges that we had tonight. And a good way around that is to, when you've got groups that are working on this, is to assign roles out. And what you might think about doing is saying, okay, if you've got a videographer, making sure that they have a phone that actually has a YouTube account so you can do exactly that. I think that YouTube is the most stable platform for uploading video and sharing it because it's easy to share, it's easy to upload, there's no size limitations, and it can just get out there quickly. Okay?
I don't know if you just mentioned this, but the other thing with YouTube is you can just do an unlisted link if you didn't want to share publicly. So that's a thing.
Yeah.
So, also Google Drive, but maybe for today YouTube is easier.
Also Google Drive. Lauren says keep calm and upload to YouTube. Yeah, Amy's is still uploading. It's just going very slowly. Okay, so for those of you that have either given up because of the technical challenges or are had the experience of doing it and would prefer not to share, how did that go? I'm curious to get your feedback on it. Kind of hear from your experience, and I'll go ahead and unmute all. Good morning.
Hey, I could show it to you just by holding up my phone.
Word, do it. That'd be great. Just go ahead and
see if I can do it. Okay, phone.
Okay, I'm gonna mute everyone except for you, Amy. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Amy, it's all yours. And Lauren, do you mind spotlighting Amy, please?
This is crazy. Okay. Ready?
All set.
In 2014, the good news was that light rail was coming to the Twin Cities to connect the downtown St. Paul to downtown Minneapolis. In the neighborhood where I worked, we were worried that rents were going to go up. What was special about our neighborhood was that there were a variety of creative enterprises, but that also meant we were afraid the artists were going to have to move out. So I said to the people in the neighborhood and the community group I worked with, let's organize. After a few years' time, many meetings, many conversations, the Creative Enterprise Zone was born, recognized by the city, and now people are working together to keep creative enterprises thriving in St. Paul.
Oh my God. And how's that?
Amy, from what I heard, that was awesome. I don't know if anybody else had the same experience, but I had a little bit of a lag. It sounded a little jumpy. Yeah, Mateo, Karen, that too. Yeah, so, okay, so, no. I from what I heard, I thought it was awesome. Here's one other thing that I would say. There's no need to pull technology into this. If you are doing this in front of a live group audience as a facilitator, you can have them do exactly these same methods of using the storyboards, using the sticky notes, and you don't have to record it. It's just kind of a nice to have if you want to publish it after the fact. But thinking through the same exercise that we just did, right, and thinking about how you might pull that into the group, there are tons of different applications for this thing. And if I could make a kind of an observation, when Mateo and Amy and Avra's videos were playing, I was kind of keeping an eye on those people who have their webcams on, and just the smiles were contagious. I mean, people were just, it was infectious. They were getting into it. And that kind of mood, bringing that into a group, it does nothing but send positive energy all the way around. Okay. All right. So
Brian,
yes, ma'am.
if you check your email, Karen said that she may have been able to send her video to your email, if you want to check that.
Okay, I'll see what I can do.
This is my story of working with a nonprofit organization called the Fund for Animals, where the leaders were looking to use strategic planning to be even more focused and effective. This was at a time where the animal protection field as a whole was starting to get more interested in using tools like strategic planning to help their work. One of the big motivators and one of the big challenges in groups like this is that they are pulled in a million different directions because of mile wide inch deep syndrome. There's an endless need of help for animals, and even our largest organizations are far under-resourced to try to do everything that comes up. And so this was a fairly small organization, about a $6 million annual budget at that point, and part of the strategic planning was to help give some priorities to what they were doing. To do that, I brought in a tool called the Macmillan Matrix, which took a strategic look at programs. We were able to look at each program based on mission, how easy it was to support it, the competition for it, and have some really sound discussions and make some good decisions about which programs were worth supporting. It helped deal with what was a very difficult and emotional decision to move away from some programs and invest in those that were more positive, because it gave us an objective basis to look at the rationale and to do that. In addition to having benefit for that organization, the fund merged not long after with the Humane Society of the United States, and these principles and approaches have continued to guide the campaign planning for what is the largest animal protection program in the United States.
Sorry about clicking away for just a second. That was great. Yay, applause. Karen. Holy cow, knock the cover off of it. I'm unmuting you right now. That was, are you like a graphic facilitator or something? How did you do that? That was awesome. Yeah, I love the like little guy with the arrows all over the place, because I think, we've all been there. That was fantastic. That was great. Okay, so we did have a couple more that came in. And I'm sorry, I said that I knew we were gonna push on. I can't resist. I wanna see a few more. Yes? You guys wanna see some more? Just give me a yes. All right, we'll see some more. All right, so I've got one that came in, and who's this one from? Paige, I think? Yeah, I'm seeing a whole bunch of little cats. Paige, is that one yours? Yes, okay, cool, there you are. So let's do a new share, and over to Paige. Okay, here we go. Okay. Paige, I think I'm going to rewind this and unmute you because I got to hear the story behind all these cats. Hang on a second. Hang on. Okay, do you mind just doing the voiceover on the fly like right now? I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. You ready?
There's no story. I couldn't think fast enough to do a story, so I was just thinking of a basic concept. So that's why there's no voiceover and no sound.
That's okay. We'll talk us through it. So what are we looking at?
No, it's just the basic idea of herding cats. You got your lasso, and then you get your cats in order.
Got it. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah. No, it was an exercise in playing with the technology, really.
Got it. Thank you, Paige.
Notes.
Very cool. Thank you very much. Yay, applause. Okay, and then did one more come in. Mateo's like, wait, it's a riddle. And then, let's see, I think I got one more, right? Okay, here we go. This is from Danielle.
What does personal best as a leader mean? So ultimately, I think of group work. We don't think of this as a personal best scenario, but when you think about it, oftentimes it is a challenge. People involved are confused, some are upset, some don't want to be there, some may not know why they're there. And so as a strong leader, one thing to incorporate is sharing. Sharing ideas and concepts allows each individual to be heard and to build off one another. And ultimately this will create the best material and outcomes, which is the goal for group work. Thank you for listening.
That's awesome. Yay. Thank you, Danielle. That was awesome. Okay. So I feel at a loss that I can't see everybody's here because there's some people that are on the phone that I really want to see what they came up with, but we'll just go ahead and move on. If you want to either post your videos in your method of choice to the Slack channel or any of the other ones that are out there, please do. But for right now, I'm going to go ahead and just see if there are any questions, queries, posers, comments, ideas, insights, variations, or anything else that you might otherwise add. And again, you can either unmute yourself or hit *6 on your phone, or we're also going to be looking at the chat window. Okay. So what's going on? It's all good. You guys have no questions. Ready to roll. Ready to pull this out to your groups.
That was so much fun.
Oh, thanks, Mateo. That's cool.
Yeah, this is a great group and pretty safe space to do it in. And you broke it down for us in a variety of different ways as well. So thanks.
We certainly hope so. So thank you for the feedback. And actually, to that point, I'm posting the link to a Google Forms in the chat window that you all, in your own time. It's very light. What did you like? What would you like to see more of? What would you like to see less of? More comments. Just a very light feedback form. And if I could just give you a couple more insights on how this functionally works in groups, right? Because the difference that we had here is that we had people that were not actually in the same room. And I like to do this when we're all, you got 20, 30 people in a room together. And so typically you put them into breakout groups of 4 to 6. You're usually only looking at, 3, 4, maybe 5 videos altogether, right? And so you have far less technical challenges because you've just got less material that's coming your way as a facilitator to have to manage. And you try to give them a lot more time. This would be at the culmination of some brainstorming activity. This is where you're actually moving them away from brainstorming, what are their problems and what are their different challenges, to actually what might the solution look like. So for example, those of you that are familiar with it, the cover story vision, which is a great template out there, use it all the time. If you know the cover story vision, or even something like future casting, postcards from the future, microvideos are a great way that you can have participants actually give you a link, give you an image of what the future might look like. So that's another way you can do it too. Okay. That's it. That's all I got for you guys. Any other questions before we break? I'll turn it back over to Lauren just for some closing thoughts and some cleanup. Y'all are easy. I was expecting a lot more questions. Lori looks like she's got a question. Stand by. Hold on. I will unmute you. There you go. You're on.
No, I was just going to say that the Rachel Smith's classic advice about how to make sure to avoid the pit of techno despair definitely is something to pay attention to in this, and so that to make sure that you've got, if you were going to do it with a group, that you've got the how they're going to get their little videos out totally nailed. So before you go into it, because if that part didn't work, all of a sudden, your grand finale would be
Yeah, definitely. And so thanks for that, Lori. And what I would say is the backup, if you can't get the videos to work and it doesn't project big and on the screen that you happen to be using, is just to have people talk it through. Then it becomes a paper and live exercise, and that's it. So thanks for the insight. I appreciate it. Avoiding the pit of technological despair. That's pretty awesome. Anything else? Okay, we've got a few more that came in. I see that Alalia just loaded one of the Slack channels, so that one's there for people to check out. Anything else before we break and call it a night? A little bit early? Okay, Lauren, I'll turn it back over to you. Thank you very much, guys.
Brian, thanks for making it available to us.
So if you check the event page after, we will post to the Meetup event page. We'll post a video. We'll post a link to the slides that Brian used. I'll also post a survey link, so please do that. It really does help us as we do more and more webinars. And then we'll also post the link there for Slack again, so stay tuned for the Slack channel so you can watch any of the videos that come in that you didn't get to see. And just continue to share. Brian has a Facebook group. Brian, what's it called? Think with Ink. Maybe you want people to share there too, just to spread that community.
Yeah, if you like to.
Think with Ink.
And that Think with Ink, we're always sharing new graphic facilitation methods for free, and just practice. I mean, it's a sort of like a safe space for, if I could say, people who aren't necessarily artists to show off their graphic facilitation methods. It's really more about graphic facilitation than it is graphic recording.
Yes, thank you. And Karen said she's thinking about leading something on strategic planning next year. So that makes me think that if anybody is interested in leading a session for Nova Scribes, a webinar, a live session, please let us know. Either email us or just email in the Meetup group. And we are really encouraging of members to sign up and go ahead and lead and teach workshops, or even just lead and facilitate a discussion is fine. So other than that, I'm just looking at my little list here.
While you're looking, Lauren, let me just show one thing real quick, just because I think it's so super cool. So this is something, again, credit where credit is due. So I got this from Dean Myers, who's just a technological, he's awesome. I don't want to say the word that I was about to say. He's just great. So this is a microphone that actually plugs into a lightning port on a phone. Right? And so for any just like light voiceover work or that kind of thing, it just can't be beat. I forget exactly how much it is, but it's out there on Amazon, and it just works like $1,000,000. This is all I use for any whiteboard animation or action sketches, and it's just great stuff. So that's another thing that you can bring into it. Sorry, Lauren, back over to you.
No, I think I'm done.
What's the name?
I think it's good.
So it's a Rode, RWYRDE. Okay. I don't know. How do you say that? Somebody smarter than me. What is it, like an umlaut or something? Somebody doesn't know. Whatever. It's like it's an O with a line through it. RODE is the kind of microphone. And they make that, if I'm saying it right, Rode makes some amazing professional studio quality microphones. This just happens to be the one that can plug onto an iPhone. Folks, thank you very much for attending, and I guess we'll see you next time. Ready, break.
Thanks, guys. That was so much fun.
See ya.
See ya.
The longer you give your audience something to look at, the longer they will give you their minds. Dan Rome. Oops, looks like I ran out of space there. Okay, so lesson learned. Write the text first, then the container.
One night, I was at a big party. Everyone was drinking and having a great time when suddenly someone fell down the stairs. Not only was he the biggest and tallest of all of us, his ankle was swelling fast. On top of that, everyone was drunk and thought that maybe he could just walk it off. Luckily, I was sober and had Girl Scout first aid training. I managed to get everyone to get blankets, ice, and some household items to make a splint, and loaded him into the van. We got him to the emergency room, and luckily, they were able to set his broken ankle. The end.
It was my first time teaching a class on graphic facilitation abroad, and I was pretty excited because it was taking place in Auckland, New Zealand. The day before my flight, I was informed that all my materials were sent to Australia by mistake, and it made me feel a little bit like this. So after a brief meltdown, I stayed up into the wee hours of the night and created all the charts by hand. And the class, it turned out to be a great success.